Good evening, it's 6 o'clock and this is London Tonight.
Coming up in the next half an hour.
The actual works on this list that need to be done equate to about £11,633,
against 47 or 48 that they've quoted.
Are London's leaseholders getting their money's worth? We have a special report on the hefty council bills being handed to private homeowners.
Also coming up on the programme.
The 90-year-old war veteran who died after being ambushed on his doorstep. His family appeals for justice.
A blind passenger callously thrown off a bus in Essex. We speak to the 80-year-old about her ordeal.
And he's an unlikely heartthrob, but Michael Cera's fans have been camping out in Leicester Square to get a glimpse of their geeky hero.
We start with a special report on the growing anger of London's leaseholders. Many feel they're being milked by the council for bills they get for repairs and improvements.
Tens of thousands of Londoners have taken up the right to buy their council homes since the policy was brought in by Margaret Thatcher 30 years ago. But their properties are still owned or managed by local councils, and an increasing number are complaining about what they see as unfair charges.
In a moment, we'll be looking at the scale of the problem across the capital. But first, Liz Wickham reports on the discontent of one community in East London.
For the second time in 5 years, these leaseholders are being charged between £5,000 and £10,000 each for refurbishments to their blocks of flats in Newham.
4 years ago, we had some works done that cost, for my flat, £5,000. Now that on the new bill that they're proposing now, there's another £10,662 worth of charges. And some of the things are actually going to be doing the same thing again.
These former council tenants had bought their flats under Thatcher's Right to Buy scheme in the 80s. But the council remained the freeholder and as such manages maintenance of shared areas.
Do you think that the costs are actually reasonable for the work done?
The costs are very hyperinflated. They're not. If you went out to private business and got quotes for the same jobs, you would not pay the same money.
Normal practice with private leaseholders is that they pay into a sink fund each year to cover maintenance costs. A practice stopped by Newham Council, who just sends out letters telling tenants they have to pay.
I have queried the bill. I went to Bridge Road and spoke to them and really got no satisfaction, promised to answer my queries, but today I've had no answer.
Many tenants haven't yet finished paying the last bill and say much of what they paid for, painting of shed doors and reconcreting of the washing areas, has not even been done. Florrie Bourne was 92 and a leaseholder living in a flat, again where Newham was the freeholder. Her flat had been totally refurbished by her family, but still she received a bill for £50,000.
And there was no possibility for her to accumulate any large sums of money. And she became very fearful and upset about that.
Sick with worry and amid the chaos of the council works, a roof tile fell and crashed next to her. She had multiple heart attacks and died 2 days later. Newham has used a housing association called Newham Homes to manage these improvements. But are leaseholders being unfairly charged for their share of the costs? This morning I brought an independent chartered surveyor to look at the Manor Park flats and give a completely unbiased assessment of the proposed works.
Generally it would be about 50 years you'd expect to get out of a zinc or a copper line gutter.
His conclusions are shocking.
I've estimated that the actual works on this list that need to be done equate to about £11,633.
Against 48 that they've quoted. So that's a quarter.
Yeah.
Newham Homes refused to give me an interview, but in the last hour they have sent this statement saying all contractors who carry out major works are appointed only after a rigorous tendering process involving residents. They also say to date we've had no complaints. Both those claims are denied by the residents that I met. Whatever the costs, where's the common sense in sending a pensioner a bill for £50,000 out of the blue, and where is the compassion? Liz Wickham, London Tonight, Newham.